Welcome to PT Den Personal Training and Body Peak Supplements. Today we're going to be talking about what are the things that people do wrong in the gym. So what are the top 5 bodybuilding mistakes? So some of the greatest trainers I've ever worked with aren't the best qualified. They're not the most qualified at all. They're just people who are so passionate about their job, they're consistently learning and educating themselves non-stop. And this is the type of mentality that bodybuilders need in order to be successful. So what happens is a lot of people train hard, but they don't train smart. They don't consistently educate themselves and consistently keep themselves up to date with the latest information. You know, the space shuttle takes over 30,000 people in order for the space shuttle to be able to perform successfully. The human body is far more complex than a space shuttle, and we're trying to do it on our own, you know, all by ourselves. So we've got to be consistently learning non-stop in order to just keep up with the industry and keep up with the most competitive bodybuilders in the world. And this is where most gym junkies make the mistake. They are completely oblivious to how complex the human body is. They think that they can just eat semi-healthy and train hard and, well, that's all they need to do. Not understanding the complexity behind the actual sport. I mean, we're dealing with the most complex machine in the universe. So it's not as simple as what people think. So here are the top 5 mistakes. The first thing is obviously nutrition. You know, you grow out of the gym, not in the gym. So when you train, you break down your muscle tissue, and it's not until you actually go home that you have to eat healthy and get those macronutrients in and get the right calorie intake in and get the right timing in order to rebuild that muscle tissue bigger and stronger or more toned or have more fat loss than what you had the previous day. So nutrition is by far the most important thing, and this is where people get most of your results. Ask any top trainer, you know, what is the first thing you need to work on with your client in order to get results, and all the top trainers will say first, nutrition. So you can't be eating rubbish. You know, you've got to be focused on getting double your body weight in grams of protein per day. Depending on what your goals are, make sure you're either in a calorie surplus or a calorie deficit. Make sure you eat at the right times, and make sure you get your carbohydrate intake only when you need it, in order to gain lean muscle mass and prevent your body from storing fat. In the off season, it's a big thing now. You know, you've got to focus on eating healthy in the off season. You can't just you know, clock up your calorie intake and eat like a pig and grow. So the second most important thing is your poor training routine. So people learn from bigger bodybuilders, you know, big bodybuilders, IFBB pros who post their workouts in magazines. Other people use them. Your training program needs to be specific for you. And a classic example of that would be, if you have a look at the size of the quads of an IFBB bodybuilder, they're absolutely massive. It takes them 7 days to recover. And I ask most people, you know, how often do you train legs, if at all? And they'll say, oh, I train legs on a Monday. I said, well, do you train legs every Monday? And they said, yes. Well, and I say to them, well, what happens if you train legs every Monday? Well, the biggest problem is this. I asked them, if you train legs on Monday, when will you be recovered? And they say, I'll be recovered on, say, Wednesday, Thursday. So I said, if you're ready to train legs again on Wednesday or Thursday, Friday's wasted, Saturday's wasted, Sunday's wasted, and now you're training legs again on Monday. So in a sport where gains are so slow and you have to be so patient, you can't afford to be wasting time. So they can double the speed of their results just by doubling the amount of times they train the same muscle group per week. So you've got to find an exercise program very specific for you and not listen to other people. Also, you'll find specific movement patterns and certain exercises work really well for you that won't work for other people. So if you're going to pick a training partner, make sure that you pick a training partner who has not only similar goals, but can get similar results with similar movement patterns. The third biggest problem people make is they don't train hard enough. I see so many people counting reps. So if you count reps and you say, I needed 10 reps in the set, you do 10 reps, but you could have done 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, you're not pushing yourself hard enough, are you? The basic rule is you've got to get yourself to failure. Doesn't matter if you use time under tension or whether you go heavy, you've got to get yourself to failure. That's the number one priority. So you've got to get to that sticking point where you can't complete your full range of motion out of a repetition. So if you can do 10, 12 reps and put the weight down, well, your body says, well, I can do that. So what's the point of getting bigger and stronger? But if you train so hard that you get stuck, well, your body says, well, I can't do this. I better regrow bigger and stronger or more toned so that problem doesn't happen again. And we adapt to our environment, and that's where you get results. So you've got to make sure that apart from your warm-up set, you are pounding, training hard. You've got to have that intensity. The fourth biggest problem is, I'm going to jump in the deep end here, it's what I believe is the use of steroids without education. And the reason why I say that this is a big problem is because your health comes first. And the amount of people in gyms using steroids that don't need to and without the proper education is phenomenal. I see so many young kids these days in gyms using steroids that don't need to be using it. You know, you're not a competitive IFBB bodybuilder. You're not looking to sacrifice your health to be on stage with that gold medal around your neck, so don't do it. Put your health first. You know, if you could go back on your deathbed and make changes back in the day in order to make yourself more healthy so you can live that one extra day with your child, you'll do it. So right now, make those changes. Don't wait until it's too late. So listen, I'm not saying that steroids is really unhealthy for you. I'm not an individual who is against the use of steroids. I'm just saying if you are going to use it, don't abuse it. Make sure that you do it under a doctor's supervision. Make sure you don't buy crap off the street. And most importantly, make sure you spend a massive amount of time studying your post-cycle therapy, your PCT. That's the key, that's the ticket to keeping yourself healthy. And the last thing is the overuse of supplements. You know, if your training is right, your nutrition plan is outstanding, your intensity is up there with the best, then you can start looking into supplements. But if you're just a typical young gym junkie, just started training, and all your mates are taking supplements, so you head down to my supplement store or somebody else's supplement store and buy supplements, you know, you're going to hate me for it, and I'm going to be out of pocket. But I'm going to be honest with you and tell you straight, this is not the place for you. You know, you've got to focus on your nutrition first. And this is why over at Body Peak Supplements, we do free nutrition programs for people. We give free exercise advice to people. Because here at our supplement store, we understand there's no point in buying our supplements and you are not going to get the best results unless you have those other pieces of the puzzle in your picture first. You know, you're not going to see the overall picture unless all those other pieces of the puzzle are in there before you put in the last piece. So your supplements is your last piece. Your exercise and nutrition should always come first. So just a quick rundown. Number one problem people are making is the focus on their diet. You know, your nutrition comes first. You grow out of the gym, not in the gym. Second thing is poor training routine. So get a routine specifically for you and don't copy somebody else's. Three, they don't train hard enough. So make sure that your intensity is up there and you are giving it 100% every single workout and with good techniques so you're not injuring yourself. Don't use steroids unless you're an IFBB pro, or you're looking to be a competitive bodybuilder, and you have the full understanding about the risks involved and the education behind your post-cycle therapy, your PCT. And the last thing is, don't go nuts and spend all your money on supplements, especially those that don't work. Focus on what supplements you need, and most importantly, make sure that your exercise and nutrition comes first.